I'm going to invite up Rob from All Things Media. He's going to kind of walk us through a really sick VR, AR demo. Rob, take it away.
This is my quickie. All right. So full disclosure, I have significantly more time than I anticipated. So heavy on coolness, but light on slides. So we're just going to dig in. You're going to have to listen to me talk a little bit, and we'll just take it from there. So who I am, I'm Robert Spierenburg. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of All Things Media, LLC. We've been in business for 18 years and have serviced clients such as Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Cadillac, New York Life, McGraw Hill, Pearson Education, Mars Food, Hasbro, and more. I'm just going to read them all. The company is actually, so the company is actually divided into 5 key departments. We have 3D modeling and animation, video production, editing, graphic design, programming, and client services. And really it's an all-in-one digital house, and it has been since its inception in 2001. And what's really important about that is because we built the company actually initially as a game development company and then moved into the business sector, we have every discipline under one roof that's necessary to create really immersive, multifaceted digital experiences. And as the market has moved in that direction over the past years, as you know, with iPhones and iPads and VR and AR, it's become increasingly important to have all those disciplines under one roof and to be able to kind of execute these really intense digital experiences with limited, under one roof to really achieve it efficiently. So I'm going to show you a video. This is our automotive reel. I'm showing you this one. We do a lot of work outside of automotive in education and children's entertainment and in-store digital. But I'm going to show you this because it's a really just cool demonstration of a lot of the various technologies that we work with. It's obvious from looking at the reel, our team really loves what they do. We've been doing this for a long time. But the industry is constantly changing. And one of the places that we're really focused constantly at All Things Media is emerging technologies. We maintain a constant R&D team that's focused on what's coming next. A lot of the technologies that you saw in that video are things that we just created as demos for our clients that will never see the light of day. And even though, a lot of companies may see that as wasted effort, but the pathway to innovation is always very windy. And we find that a lot of the experiments that we do and things that never go anywhere spin off and lead to something that's really impressive. Perfect case of that, we've been experimenting with the green screen cube for showing people inside VR experiences. Never found a practical use for it in the client space, but it's been really great because it also led us to start experimenting with photogrammetry, which is using multiple photos of an image or a device to bring it into a 3D space and create 3D models from it, and that's something that has led to additional business. So this is probably like the only tech slide I have. We're going to spend a little while here as I go through it. There's 3 technologies that we've identified as the technologies that are going to define the next 3 years, at least in kind of the interactive and kind of intense marketing space. The first is virtual reality. And obviously you saw the big buzz about virtual reality next year, more likely than not. And it kind of died off in the past year, but what's been happening silently behind the scenes over the past year is an introduction of new, less expensive devices with better capabilities than what was available a year ago. Most recently, Lenovo released a headset that has 6 degrees of freedom, meaning you can walk around and put your face up to things. That I think sells for around $300 and doesn't require towers or isn't wired, has the entire computer built into the head. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. And then Oculus just released the Oculus Go, which is pretty impressive in terms of the visual fidelity. So these devices are coming more and more, and you're going to start seeing them become more ubiquitous. And as the technology improves, it's only a matter of time before one of these devices gains widespread adoption. And when that happens, basically what you'll see is a brand new marketing channel, not brand new, but you'll see a new marketing channel open up that has the potential to present products and anything that you want to sell in a way that's never been available before. This becomes increasingly relevant when you look at the increasing trend of online shopping. Because the one downside of online shopping is you miss that ability to get that physical experience, to actually look at it, kick the tires, look around it, and get a feel for it. As online shopping becomes more prevalent and as virtual reality devices become less expensive, there's a logical connect there, where virtual reality will provide another level of immersion into the shopping experience that will allow you to not really experience it 100% until they figure out some way to create touch. But until there's touch, that's about as good as you're going to get to kicking the tires on anything that you're looking at online. And one example of that is something that we built for Cadillac and virtual reality. So we built a virtual reality platform that allows a user to go and look at any vehicle in the Cadillac lineup, jump inside it, walk around the outside of it, look at any detail, fully customize the vehicle to any color, any trim, anything that you want, and then send yourself a takeaway, a PDF that summarizes what you created. That experience is actually going to be on display upstairs after this, so if anybody's interested in checking it out, it uses 6 degrees of freedom, so you can actually walk around the space, put your face up to things, put your face right up to the tire and read like the PSI off the tire. It's extremely detailed, but something you should definitely take a look at. Augmented reality is another one. I see that as being something that's more, it's around, but I see it as becoming more prevalent in the next year to 2 years. And the reason that I say that is augmented reality is currently limited by 2 key things. There isn't a device right now that allows you to kind of completely replace your vision and do a full augmented reality experience where you can just look at something and see information layered on top of it or experience things. The HoloLens is the closest that ever came to that so far, and it's extremely expensive and has a very limited field of view, but the technology is constantly improving. The other big reason is that right now you can use your phone to engage in an augmented reality experience, but in order to do so, you have to download an application or have it integrated into an application you already have. Anybody that has the Amazon app, there is a pretty cool augmented reality feature in there where you can trigger augmented reality and look at products in your home. That's as far as it can go right now without requiring people to install custom apps for every product that they want to do. So what we see starting to happen there is the emergence within the next year or so of web-based augmented reality. What that'll mean is that you'll be able to open a web browser to URL, it'll trigger the camera, point that at something, and you'll get an AR experience without having to download it. When that happens, you'll see AR become a lot more prevalent on phones. And you know, the convergence of those two things is ultimately just glasses and down the road contacts that you can wear that will actually augment everything that you see, which provides near limitless opportunities to mess with people's lives. And then the last one is artificial intelligence, and I listed as kind of the third one in that, you know, I put it like a year to 2 years out, but the reality is it's already here. It's already integrated in our lives in a very real way. Every time you search for a product on Amazon, every time that you see a chatbot, every single time that you browse the web on some level, or trade stocks, or do anything, on some level there's an AI system somewhere looking at that and tracking that data and starting to kind of get smarter and smarter and smarter. Obviously, devices like the Echo and the Google Home are making AI, bringing AI a lot more to the forefront, because it's an AI that you can actually actively engage with. And IBM Watson has been doing that for a little while, and is growing. What's really interesting about it, though, when I say it's more like a year to 2 years out, I think the public is going to become significantly more aware of it in the next year to 2 years. I think that there's going to be a lot more user interaction with AI. And I also think that the AI systems, as they become, you know, exponentially more intelligent, are going to provide opportunities for much easier collaboration, much easier communication with those systems. So as a marketer, the reality is, if you're trying to market to a customer, sell to a customer, what's the best model that you have to actually, you know, make that sale? The best model is to have one person that you assign to that customer, have them do research on everything that that customer likes, learn everything that that customer does, watch them every single day in kind of a stalkery weird way, and then learn exactly what to say and what to do to make the sale. That's basically the long-term scary promise of AI, is that ultimately every person that wants to market something has an intelligence that can specifically focus on one customer and make sales decisions and provide information that allows you to sell to that person in a very specific and personal way. And where we see the real future of all of this is kind of the collaboration of these three. We're working on systems right now that are virtual reality-based sales simulations. And right now they're more scripted with kind of branching engines behind them. But what we're really building is a front end for artificial intelligence, a way to engage with artificial intelligence in a visual way, developing movements, patterns, and characters that can actually represent AI in a virtual space, which then again ties into the virtual shopping thing that we were talking about. So at some point, you'll be able to go online or see a vehicle that you like or a product that you like, load it into a VR headset, stand in a room, look at it, and when you're ready to actually ask questions or engage in the sale more, press a button, and an artificial intelligence virtual assistant appears and can answer any question that you have about the vehicle and then initiate the next step of the sale. And that's really where we see these things going in probably the next 3 years, 3 to 5, depending on how quickly we get that ubiquitous headset that we're looking for. So we're at the forefront of all this stuff. We're always thinking about where it's going, and the biggest caveat I could give about this entire presentation is that it could all be completely different in a month. So I'm going to show you another video about the Cadillac and VR experience that's upstairs, just to give you a little bit of an idea of kind of the scope of it and exactly how something like this is being integrated into a sales process for the first time.
What we really hope people take away from this experience is a sense of wonderment.
It's absolutely magical. It's an amazing tool.
Honestly, I think everyone should have one. It's cool, it's fun, it's really like tomorrow's brochure. We had a client that, like many clients, was needing to think about it. And of course, when people go think about it, they don't always come back and purchase. Rondell, our sales manager, was able to request that she try it in virtual reality.
The customer came in, wanted to see the dark Adriatic blue with the Kona brown interior. We did not have one available. She ended up taking a look on the VR, fell in love with it right on the spot, and placed an order for the car.
It just goes to show you that this kind of experience certainly does move the needle.
When people are, jump in the experience for the first time, I encourage them to look around, soak in the environment, because it's very much a Cadillac aesthetic.
It's a great way to involve the customer, show them the technology that Cadillac's invested into their dealerships.
From the very beginning until the very end, they wanted this to be a tool to empower their dealers. And that's exactly what it is.
The center console, the seats, the dashboard, everything looks so crisp.
The ability to show someone the inside and outside colors of a car as realistically as you can that aren't located here on the lot.
We've taken the whole product line and brought it into something that's consumable for a worldwide market.
The first week of having installed it in the first dealership in the world for us, it's all happening. Couldn't have been happier.
It's very easy to use. My sales staff loves it. It's so lifelike, it's unbelievable.
It speaks to Cadillac in every way, and the vehicles are really beautifully presented.
We're at the forefront of this technology, and it's only going to get better.
All right, so, I kind of already covered this, but it's really immersive in-dealership experience. What's really interesting about it is that Cadillac has a problem in the U.S. in that they have 900 dealerships, but of those dealerships, more than half really don't have much inventory at all. They maybe have one or two vehicles. In some cases, they just have the logo on the wall. So this really allows them to bring in a VR system and allow somebody to see the entire lineup, any vehicle that they could possibly consider. It's also great for events, and it's great for areas where dealerships are really spread out. We've already implemented versions in South Korea, Germany, we just did one for Russia. And what's interesting about Russia is they have distances where somebody would have to drive like 3 hours to get to their nearest Cadillac dealership. But if you put up one of these systems in a mall, right, somewhere around them, they can go in, check it out, initiate the order, and then actually get to a point where either they're willing to take the drive or the dealer's willing to bring the car out to them. So it's been really a really huge success story. It's currently installed in 5 dealerships in the U.S., expanding to 65 by the end of the year. And we also have a mobile version of the experience that we've created that's accessible via a web browser or a mobile web browser off their website for the XT4. And we're only going to be expanding that as well over time. So definitely check it out upstairs when you get a chance if you have the time. It's a really cool experience. So that's pretty much all I've got. Apologies for the lack of slides, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I want to kick off the questions though. How can you give us a sense of like how excited dealerships are for something like this? Like, are they talking about how this is going to revolutionize their business, or putting out numbers to increase in sales or anything like that?
In some dealerships, it all depends on who's running the dealership, right? Some dealerships are immediately first to market, want to embrace it, and are excited about it right off the bat. And some are a little bit more skeptical of the technology. However, the first dealership that was installed in Greenwich, Connecticut, saw a pretty dramatic increase in sales as a result of it, and directly attributed it within the first week to assisting in the sale of like 5 vehicles. So those kinds of results and tracking those metrics are very quickly turning the tide. And what we've seen is initially they were trepidatious, but now we have 65 signed on already, which, it's not an insignificant investment for a dealer. So to see that many people jump on it this fast is pretty exciting. And we imagine that number will just grow in subsequent years as we get more sales figures to further support the implementation. Yeah, anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Right, and looking to implement this type of technology and selling the concept of a franchise, that kind of environment. Does that, again, I assume the technology exists, but what would be the cost to implement that, to roll that out, where you could get a trade show, throw on the glasses, and you can work behind a counter or doing whatever?
Well, it depends on exactly what you want to do, obviously. If the retail is, a small, discrete, easily modeled product that you just want on a table in a room, that's one thing. If it's clothing and you need fabric simulations and things like that, it's another. But as far as the cost of the hardware, right now a Vive system with a pretty powerful PC, like for one of these Cadillac experiences, I forget the last price that Vive was at. I think it was like 600 range, maybe something like that. It's The head unit's like 600. The CPU can cost anywhere from $500 to $3,000, depending on how powerful you need it to be. But that's quickly changing. Most experiences, or a fair amount of experiences that we would, create for most clients would probably work on the Oculus Go at this point. The problem is those vehicles that you see, and the one that's in the experience upstairs, run about 6 million polys because they're super detailed, and they're built off of the actual source engineering CAD that they use to build the vehicles, so that they're 100% accurate. But there's a lot of effort that goes into bringing that file size or that polygon count down, so that it can actually run on even a high-end computer. But down the road, for most products that wouldn't be an issue. You could use one of these like $300 headsets and one and done.
And what's the timeline to roll that out? So to develop the actual software, the design behind it?
The Cadillac experience you see there was built from ground up in 3 months. So yeah, and we've done similar things like that for Mercedes, which I have a number of other really cool videos I can show, but we did something similar for Mercedes with this in-dealership wall. Like during the video you saw the guy explode the car. That's in about 100 dealerships throughout the US, AMG Pro dealerships. And that was another thing where the entire AMG line, you can blow the vehicles apart, look at the engines, blow the engines apart. That was, the initial version of that was about 3 months. Now we're updating it every year and adding more models as they come out.
Very good,
Thank you.
Obviously, you're very focused on automobiles and all these industries like automobiles, e-shop, e-commerce, like Amazon, stuff like that. What other opportunities, what other markets do you see
I wish I had a little bit more time to show you some of the other stuff that we're doing, but we are currently creating augmented reality and VR experiences for McGraw-Hill and Pearson Education. We've created gesture control like mirrors for like toy stores. We're doing some for Lego right now where you walk up to a screen and you see a Lego character in the reflection and you move and it kind of follows you. For augmented reality, there's a number of different things. We also created like something for Pepsi not too long ago that played off of the bottles. For VR, there's really nothing that it can't touch. Right? Like, I'm trying to think of an industry that VR wouldn't apply to. We've created medical simulations in VR. We've created pharmaceutical method of action simulations in VR. We're creating a VR simulation to show the fit of genes using photogrammetry in VR and also augmented reality. We're doing, for children's entertainment, we've done a number of like VR-based games for, I'm trying to think of some of the other verticals that we've worked with VR. We do work with a wide range of clients. I just show the automotive stuff because they typically are funding being at the bleeding edge of this stuff, whereas a lot of the other stuff is impressive, but it's probably a little bit behind some of the stuff that we're doing in the automotive space. For New York Life, we're creating VR sales training simulations. So it's really just goes to show you, like, who would have thought, insurance. Yeah, VR works in insurance. So there really is nothing, and that's the real strength of VR. The real use of VR, there's a lot of people that want to use VR just because they want to be in VR, right? But we try and really limit our proposals and the work that we do to things that we feel provide lasting value and take advantage of what VR is really good at. And what VR is really good at is putting you in a situation, right? Making you feel like you're in a moment or a place, and allowing you to engage in activities where it's safe to fail, right? Like I can, case in point, Lowe's just implemented a VR demonstration center in their store where you're given this like power tool, but it's just like a handle with a thing that vibrates and has a VR sensor on it. And then you go into VR and you can train on using a chainsaw or using hedge clippers without actually risking cutting off a finger. And that's the power of VR, and that's really what it's good at.
So I'm going to assume this moment's already come. At what point did you turn from having to convince companies that they need to do this to the point where your phone's ringing off the hook because they realize it and now they're coming to you to do it?
It took a while, actually. The funny thing is we saw VR coming probably about 2 years out. So what we did is, rather than going to them and saying, you gotta go into VR right now, what we did is start nudging our clients to use real-time rendered CG assets, right? But not because they can be used in VR, not because they're perfect for VR and augmented reality, but because they provide additional opportunities for engagement in even on a standard computer screen or on a mobile application. So we weren't pitching it really hard until it kind of took off, but then we had already positioned our existing clients to have the assets to move right into it. And really, more often than not, to get somebody to adopt a new technology like this, for the AMG Powerwall, which is another project that we did that's real-time rendered vehicles, we had to build the demo before they would buy the product. You know what I mean? Like, we actually had to put the R&D time into showing them what a car could be. And the same is true, and that kind of segued into the Cadillac and VR thing, because we put the effort in there and we showed that we could do that. Then we created a demo of one of the Mercedes vehicles in a VR space to show what that could be. And then that got us the Cadillac job. And it's kind of more of the same, right? We're always, and then for Cadillac, we created a mobile viewer for their VR experience on our dime that they then, once they saw it, we pitched it like 3 times and they didn't want to pay for it. So we just paid for it internally, showed it to them, and now it's a platform that we own that they're using and licensing from us. So I mean, a lot of times it's kind of, like I said, it's a windy road, and you never know which demos, every one of those demos that we've done, only about like 1/10 of them actually go anywhere. I mean, we have demos like multi-user, real-time, like engagement with like that in one of these engines where you can kind of go in and have people from all over the world join you in a room in VR and like take an engine apart and like, experiment with it. And these are all early demos, they work, and we use them to pitch them to clients like Mercedes and Cadillac, but sometimes they're just not ready for it. Like it really is, we're a lot of times a little bit too far ahead. And the real game is just gauging how far is just far ahead enough that they'll actually engage with it, and how far is just wasted effort until they're ready to get on board. Yeah.
I'm someone with a lot of interest in VR and AR and a few projects that college, but what threw me away from diving deeper into that market was the barrier to entry to get any of this experience in front of someone, which would definitely seem to be a gap that's been shrinking over time. The other issue was just the uncertainty in the market about, yeah, VR will be there, AR will be there, but what will it be on? What will we use to make this? So just curiosity, what do you guys use to make your AR and VR products?
Do you mean what we use in terms of hardware or software?
Hardware, software. For instance, back then I was working on Unity 3D game engine using Euphoria and augmented reality API. I'm just interested to see.
We're using the same technology. So the entire thing that you'll see, if you check it out upstairs, was built in Unity. And all of the CG, AR, VR stuff we do is currently based in Unity. We're also using Euphoria for our augmented reality implementations. So the technologies, from a software perspective, we were saying, from the hardware side, where we've actually been able to sidestep that a little bit, that concern, is we're focused right now on VR for experiential installations. Right? So places where it's not about the number of users, right? It's about providing that experience to them in a fixed location that will draw in more customers and that will give them an experience that they normally wouldn't be able to get in the dealership. And that's kind of what the Cadillac thing is. There's only going to be maybe this year 100 units out between here in the US and kind of the global adoption. But, and so if you were to track the traffic on our VR experience versus the traffic on their websites, it's nowhere near, comparable, but it provides an extra layer of value in dealership at a crucial moment in the sales process. And that's what they're really seeing. And then the other flip side of that is now we're expanding that Cadillac platform to mobile, where you can actually do VR on like a mobile device. So the way that we also kind of sidestep that lack of ubiquity and experience versus ubiquity is we create the really high-end experience, and now we're deploying mobile versions, kind of more of a dumbed-down mobile version that's still cool from that high-end experience. So we're slightly incremental cost, the client gets, goes from having 100 of, 100 locations where people can do this to being able to put it on their website. And currently, the first instance of that is available on the Cadillac website on the XT4 landing page of your vehicle. There's a place where you can say view it at 360, but it's a 360 kind of virtual space viewer. And we're releasing a cardboard mode for that within the next couple of weeks. So we're kind of just seeing where it fits until something ubiquitous comes out.
Very impressive.
Thank you. Yeah. I do think that that's going to happen in the near future, probably initially through Steam or some other like game distribution system. However, in order to get the clients to be willing to do that, there's a couple issues there, right? One is the clients have to be willing to allow somebody to download the files onto their thing, and those files contain proprietary information, right? So if you really wanted to, you could dig in and break that apart and actually get the source engineering files for a Cadillac. So there's that concern. The other concern is file size. I mean, it's massive. The VR application itself is right now running at I think between 30 to 40 gigs for the entire build. Each vehicle is like 4 gigs, 5 gigs. So getting somebody to download at home, it's not out of the question, but for a shopping experience, I mean, how many people are willing to wait an hour, to do that? And the way that we're sidestepping that right now is by creating the mobile experience is really just a series of 360 images, right? So what we do is we put a camera, a pod into the space that generates 360s from all of these different like predefined locations. And then for each 360, it renders out the vehicle in every single possible combination. Every color, with every set of wheels, with every set of trim, which comes out to tens of thousands of images per location, but then those get stored in a server, and when you bring it up on the web, you make your selection, it just hits the server and says, I need this 360, I need that 360, which is not as immersive. There's like 6 degrees of freedom with the experience that's installed upstairs, but it still does help, right, with online shopping. It helps you kind of kick the tires a little bit. Yeah.
So I have a question on the meetings. So you said you can have like a virtual meeting with multiple different people, and in that meeting there'd be like a virtual presentation as well. Can you explain that in a little more detail?
Sure. So the demos that we've created, you basically go into a lobby, you can create or select a room similar to any multiplayer game. And when once you select a room, it goes into this VR space, you put the headset on, and you can stand in a VR space, and anybody else that's joined that room will appear in the VR space as a little avatar. Right now, because of the way the Vive is, it's just controllers in the head, so it's a floating head with like 2 hands. And when it talks, you see the mouth move, and it's amazing. You'd be very surprised at how much of the character of a person can come through just in hand and head movements. And voice. It's amazing. And so we've done a number of demos like that where you can collaborate, you can configure a vehicle together, you can pick apart an engine together, just experimenting with that. But the reality is, we have some implementations of that. It's really great for training, where they're trying to fly instructors all over the US and set up these big training events. But it's not, it hasn't been adopted as quickly just because of the amount of cost and effort that goes into creating and maintaining a system like that. That said, NVIDIA is working on their holodeck concept, which is very similar to what I just talked about. NVIDIA has a system like that called holodeck that they've been demoing, and we're actually a licensed developer for the system. So as people start, we're letting NVIDIA do the demos now, get people excited about it. When they want to customize it to their use, we'll be working with NVIDIA to implement, or hopefully working with NVIDIA to implement some of those customizations. But that's something you're going to see a lot more of. I'm really surprised. Facebook's been demoing stuff like that too. And the only reason I would say that Facebook or NVIDIA or anybody hasn't released kind of a wide platform, or Skype, is just the limited number of devices that are currently, the limited the lack of a ubiquitous device that everybody owns.
With regard to that, isn't there just a tremendous amount of data that needs to be sent over to a particular location to, for each person, because there's so much?
It depends on how you're handling it. The reality is, if each device that connects to a multi-user engagement has the application installed on their own device, like if you install an app, you already have the room, you already have the CG, you already have everything that's needed for that. And the only data that's being transferred back and forth between you and the other side of the world and me here is just head rotation position, right? Hands rotation and position, and the voice data stream, like the voice chat. The voice is actually the biggest data crunch on something like that. The other data that we're passing could be easily contained in like a very limited, 5-10K JSON string. It's a very limited amount of data that gets to go back and forth to just maintain the instance of the room. Obviously, it grows exponentially by number of users. Right now, we're limited at about 20 to 30.
Thank you.
Rob, we have a question over here, and we'll do like 2 more, and we can get you upstairs. Sure.
Hi, thanks again. I'm just here listening to everything. I just wanted to know, is there a way with VR that can help with facial recognition for consumer engagement?
Is there a way that VR could leverage that? Well, right now, VR doesn't have an interior-facing camera, and the face is largely covered. So at this time, I would say probably not. However, VR could be used to recognize, it has a forward-facing camera, so it could recognize other users in space, which is, kind of sneaky, but that could work. For facial recognition in general, I would say that VR isn't really there yet. Augmented reality is probably a better use for facial recognition. And, case in point, Snapchat filters, right? They're already fully able to track your face, and they probably won't release it, but if they wanted to, they could probably identify by face easily using that data. They have a camera this far from your face, high resolution. They can track exactly where your eyes, nose, and mouth are. That data alone could pinpoint you out of a crowd pretty quickly. So I would say augmented reality is a better way to implement that. And then that mixed with AI, you can track something down pretty quick. Anybody else? All right. Thanks, guys.